everyone, it's Kelly. Today's video is going to be a recent reads library edition. The books I have in a thumbnail, they're not library books, they're my books. They're just here for the thumbnail portion. I read these books in July, so essentially this is my July wrap up. August was just like, bye, see you later, and okay. And so I did read 2 of my own books. I read these out loud to my kids, so we're going to be talking about these, but not right now. And I read 8 books in the month of July, so that was the thing. Yeah, I had a whole bunch of library holds come in the month of July. I requested these books back in March, a day before quarantine happened. My library closed on March 16th. I requested all these books on March 15th in preparation for quarantine because I knew my state was going to like shut everything down. Yeah, my books. Yeah. I had to read my own books until July, which was not many. But anyways, I finally got them, and I couldn't read none of my books in July, which I'm being a contradiction right now. And yeah, so I want to talk about the books I read in July. 6 are library books, and yeah, so let's get into it. First book I finished is One of Us Is Next by Karen and McManus. This is the sequel companion to One of Us Is Lying. I did not like One of Us Is Lying. I thought it was very stupid. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. But I decided to give One of Us Is Next a chance because it was set in the same school and it had completely different characters. I really enjoyed it. I give it a 4 out of 5. I'm looking at my notes because, like I said, I read these in July. I don't remember none of them. My memory is shit. So, it was better than the first book. The characters were more real, in my opinion. And the characters from the first book, like Addie and... See, I only remember Addie because I have a daughter named Addie, and that was my least favorite character. I love you. Okay, go play. Okay, now my kids are just moving around and making noises, so excuse me if you hear that. The characters were more likable in this one. They were more real, more likable, and I was a little annoyed with what was her name? The one that had cancer, the sister of one of the characters from the first book. I don't remember their names whatsoever. And even though I didn't like the first one, I loved Karen and McManus' second book, Two Can Keep a Secret. It was one of my favorites. It was the first one I read by her, and then I read One of Us Is Lying, and it was just bad. So her writing is getting better, and I get to read her next book coming out in December called The Cousins. It reminds me of that book, The Roanoke Girls, and the cover is so freaking similar to that book. And One of Us Is Next was also more thrilling than One of Us Is Lying because of the bomb and the ending. I'm not going to say it because that's a spoiler, but the ending was so much better. I was not expecting this character to be the one who done it. The second book is Chosen by Kirsten White, and this is the sequel to Slayer. It's a Buffy the Vampire Slayer retelling. Not a retelling, but set in the Buffy world. And absolutely loved it. It had Clem, which is my favorite demon. He eats Siamese kittens. And he was on a diet, so he was trying to stay off the kittens. And there was a lot of mention and shade towards Spike in this one, like the peroxide master, or talking about his hair. It was just fucking hilarious. One thing I noticed in this sequel was that there was a lot more comparisons to Buffy, which was not as prominent in the first book. It had mentions of Buffy here and there, but in this one there was almost every other page like Buffy this, Buffy that. I want to be like Buffy, but I don't want to be like Buffy. I want to do this like Buffy, but I want to be different from Buffy. And you know what I mean? The one thing that just got me like so tickled was that I read this right after Hamilton hit Disney Plus, and there's one line in this book where I forget her name. What is that girl's name? God damn it. She's at this dude's house and he offers her tea from England because he's English, and she goes, well, you know how Americans feel about King George's tea. And I just lost it. And King George is one of my favorite characters on Hamilton. So, yeah, I give this a 4 out of 5 stars. It lost a star because of the constant comparisons to Buffy. Yeah, and I'm trying to remember the girl's name. The third book that I read in the month of July was Dead Moon Rising. This is the conclusion to Last Star Burning by Caitlin Sangster. This is set in a fantasy world, kind of like a Japan, China. One of the it's Asian inspired. And I give it a 3 because it jumps right into the story. It doesn't have any kind of recap. It didn't have any kind of info dump about the previous book, which I needed because I read the second book in 2018, at the end of 2018. I got it for a blog tour, and I was lost. I loved the first book, Last Star Burning, because of the cliffhanger. The cliffhanger at the end of the second one, I think it could have went in a whole different direction, and I've been saying that ever since. Every time I talk about it. And the second book is Shattered to Suns. I forgot everyone besides the main character, Sev. And I forgot one of my favorite characters of the book, which I know he's a favorite, but thinking back now, he's not really memorable. His name is Howl, if I haven't said. The one thing that I only liked in this book was Sev and Howl's romance. I can't really go into detail about the third one, but this series is about a girl. She is in this world where the people are categorized by stars. The first stars is like the royal family, and then the second stars are like the soldiers, and the third stars are the workers and commoners, and the fourth stars are traders. She has 4 stars burned into her hand because of what her mom did. Her mom was a doctor, and there's this disease going around, and her mom found a cure and put her daughter, Sev, into a sleeping sickness and then woke her up. Her mom was deemed a traitor for doing that to her daughter and not sharing this cure secrets with the rest of the population. And so her mom was put into a suspended sleep and hung in the city square to be looked at among everybody. And then Sev was branded a traitor, and she was made to hate her own mother for putting her in the sleep-induced, but it was good. I really enjoyed the first one. The second one was okay, besides the ending. I think it could have went a whole different direction. And then the third one was just, it was good until the half. I was confused as fuck. Like, who's this person? I forget who this person is. What is she talking about? And then the second half, I really enjoyed. But the second half, the battle went too fast. I think it was it was just cliche. The fourth book I read, which was a 5-star, was another conclusion to a series that I really loved. Ember Queen by Laura Sebastian. This is the finale to Ash Princess, and the second book in the series is Lady Smoke. Yes. And right off the bat, I wasn't confused because it did a little recap of what happened in the second one, and yeah. So, the love triangle wasn't annoying this time. It wasn't really a love triangle because Theodosia put her foot down and say, if you keep doing this, we're not going to be together. And so they just split, and it was fine. And yeah, and there was a lot more betrayal and sinister plots. There was also some LGBTQ rep in this with one of the princesses. There's no romance. There's no happily ever after romance at the end of this book. So, if that gives a lot away, I'm sorry, but this book is just so fucking good. But yeah, it was, I think, my only 5-star read this month. Yeah, this is my only 5-star. So, read it. I have something to hold up. And it was my least favorite book of July, and that is The Fantastic Family Whipple by Matthew Ward. I bought this at Dollar Tree for $1, and trust me when I say it's not worth the $1. It's about this family named Whipple, and they are very obsessed with breaking world records. All of the mom, the dad, and all of these siblings, except one, were born on the same day at the same time, weighing the exact same pounds. And yeah, so this one sibling, one child, his name is Arthur. He broke it because he was born the day before he was supposed to be born, and he's known as the black sheep, the failure of the family, because he can't break no world records. And that's his life's goal, is to break one record so his father is not disappointed in him. I hated this book. The chapters were longer than necessary. The constant world record title names, like every other sentence on every single page. It was a mouthful to read at times, and I wanted to DNF this book so bad, but I'm trying to raise my daughters to not be quitters, but I may have to change that and say, and if you don't like a book, just stop reading it, because it sucks. I will not be reading the second one. Even though the elephant, her name is Shiva, my favorite Walking Dead character. Tiger. Yes. So, and the whole book is just info dump. And then the action at the very end is not even worth reading the whole damn thing. Some of them world records are youngest person to summit the 3rd highest mountain in the world. And there's like 4 or 5-year-olds who can cook and climb mountains, and it's just so freaking unrealistic. My kids hated it. I hated it. Highest number of coincidental birth dates. Highest note ever sung in a live performance. Tallest dog in the world. Like, who cares? I hate world records. I think they're stupid. Like, why do you need to do that to yourself? To have that attention? Do you really need that much attention in your life? And this family is just so self-absorbed, and I think it's sending the wrong message to the genre that it's targeted towards, and I just, no. So I am done with this book. It will be going to a little free library. I'm not even, if my kid still wants it, she can keep it, but if she wants to get rid of it, bon voyage. The next book, I finally got to a nonfiction this month, and I am so happy. I miss reading nonfiction. I tried to read a nonfiction book a month. Well, I did try until quarantine. I just fucked up. Yeah, my global nonfiction challenge. It's not out the window. I'm doing a whole nonfiction November, even though I said I wasn't going to do one this year. Well, I'm doing one. And so the book I read is An Arabian Journey by Levison Wood. Love Levison Wood. He's one of my favorite travel writers. And this is his, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth book that he's written. And this is coinciding with his show Arabia with Levison Wood. He walks the Arabian Peninsula. In this book, my heart was in my throat the whole entire time. He goes through all these war-torn countries and all these countries that hate Americans and the Brits. It's just, I was like, dude, you crazy. So, I enjoyed reading about the countries and learning more about the history of these countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, Jordan, Oman, Qatar. I think he went to Qatar. I don't know. And how it was difficult to get into some of these countries because he went into other countries. Like if you go into Israel, you can't go into Pakistan. And if you go into Pakistan, then the Israelis are going to be suspicious of you. Something like that. And it talked about the border disputes between Israel and Pakistan and the pirates in the sea, between Saudi Arabia or Somalia, Yemen, and Jordan. I don't know the map, but the landmarks that have been destroyed due to war and ISIS and the Taliban is just heartbreaking that these pieces of history is just gone, and that I will never be able to go to one of these countries for fear of my life and because of my gender, and that hopefully that one day there is peace again in this region. And it talks about religion, how religion is just a big, not mess, but religion. Some of the people over there take the Quran very seriously. They go by the word. And then most of the Muslims that read the Quran, they take it with a grain of salt. Like, they think that you get your 72 virgins and it's not real. And it's just, but they all love Allah. They all support him differently. But there's people like ISIS that think you need to do this, or we're going to kill you. And so it's just a giant tug of war game in the Middle East, and it's just heartbreaking that all these people, it's just this. But I ended up giving this book a 4 stars because I think Levison Wood just made some stupid decisions about getting into these countries. And he had to sneak into some of the countries. I mean, if he would have got caught, he would have, it was not worth his life. But, to each his own. 2 more books that I need to talk about. And the second book that I read out loud to my kids and was better than the fantastic Family Whipple, which turns into the sucky Family Whipple in my opinion. And that is Malamander by Thomas Taylor. This is the first in a series, middle grade series. Sammy got this in her Alcrate Junior last year, and we just read it, and this eye is creepy as fuck. It's about a sea monster, and it takes place on a coastal town that has a legendary fishman myth. Or is it real? So we followed this boy named Herbie Lemon. He is an orphan and he works in this hotel, and he lives in this hotel. He is the keeper of lost things, and he is in charge of finding lost things and documenting them and holding them until they're found by their owners. And so one night this girl just climbs into his cellar window and says, "Hide me." And then the next thing he knows, there's this great big burly sailor man that looks weird as fuck. He comes into the hotel banging like, "Is there a girl here? Let me check." And Herbie's like, "There's nobody down there. You got the wrong person." And yeah, so my kid's laughing. Why are you laughing?
you weird voices like, "Is there a girl?"
Okay, I'm in character.
Yeah. Okay, I'll be quiet now.
Okay, one of the things that I realized while reading this is there is a lot of similarities between this and A Series of Unfortunate Events. Kind of like, don't read this book on a Thursday, and you probably don't believe in Malamander. You maybe think there's no way a fish man can be real. The story probably isn't for you anyway. In fact, do yourself a favor and stop reading now. A Series of Unfortunate Events. So, I give this book a 4 out of 5. I know there's the sequel out called Gigantus, or I think that's how you pronounce it. And it's not about the fish man, but it's about something else. I think it's about a mermaid or something. I'm not sure. But, yeah, I really enjoyed it. It made me laugh. It involves a sinister man with a hook for a hand. I mean, if that's not A Series of Unfortunate Events, I don't know what is. So if you love that series or the show, then I recommend picking this up. Do yourself a favor and just go ahead and do it. And it reminds me of the Titanic with the sunken ship. And the last book I read for the month of July was Dreamcatcher by Stephen King. I've watched bits and pieces of this movie in my childhood because my mom loves anything and everything Stephen King. She has read all the books. She's watched every single movie adaptation. We once had a Chihuahua named Cujo, and I loved that dog. But yeah, that's not what we're talking about. I read Dreamcatcher, and I meant to watch the movie right after because it has one of my favorite actors in it, Timothy Olyphant. And oh my god, yes! And I haven't watched the movie yet because his character dies. So, this is about a group of friends, 4 friends that have been together since childhood. Beaver, Pete, John, and forget the other one's name. They go up to do their annual hunt up at this cabin in, you guessed it, Maine, where all of Stephen King's books take place. And two of the friends, Pete and the other guy, are on a supply run. They went to the store to grab beer, red meat, whatever a man needs to survive in the wilderness, which is alcohol and red meat. And then Beaver and the other guy, his name starts with a J, so I'm going to call him J. They're at the cabin. Beaver's at the cabin, and Jay, he's hunting. And he sees this, what he thinks is a deer in the woods. And he's got his gun, he's ready to shoot, and then he sees the hint of Hunter Orange. And he pulls up real quick. Come to find out, this guy has been in the woods. He's lost. And so Jay takes him back to the cabin, and this guy is just all scabbed up red, kind of like frostbite, and he's holding the stomach and he's letting out these massive, stinky, smelly, gassy ass farts and burps, and it's putting Beaver and Jay into like, whoa. And the guy ends up releasing something out of his butt. And it's just bad. The one thing I remembered about the movies is that Jason Lee, who is Dave in Alvin and the Chipmunks, he dies in the toilet. He dies in the bathroom. So that's the only thing I remembered from the movie. Once again, this book was way too long and way too repetitive. That is all the books that I read in July. That is the end of my recent reads library edition. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. comment down below if you have read any of these books or want to pick up any of these books, or buddy read the sequel, or maybe watch a movie adaptation with me. Dreamcatcher. Let me know down in the comments. I will be having a Recent Reads Part 2 come up very soon. It is a U-Book edition, and it's going to be my August wrap-up. And I will talk to you in my next video.